Hi guys, and welcome back. I'm Zach from Home Life Green Team Real Estate here in Sudbury, Ontario. And today I want to make a video that I've called Why Cash Flow Isn't Everything. And I should probably put a caveat here that cash on cash is more important than cash flow. Okay, so let's get into it. Just a quick reminder, what is a cash on cash return and what's cash flow? So simply speaking, cash flow is the net operating income of a property minus the total debt service of the property. If you own the property outright, if you have no debt, then your NOI equals the cash flow. That's pretty cool. In this case, we're going to be talking about financing because most of everybody will not have their properties paid off. And hopefully in this video I can show you why you wouldn't want to pay off your properties even if you could. Because cash flow, though it does go up as you own the property, as you can see, as total debt service shrinks, your cash flow will increase because NOI will stay the same. While your cash flow may increase, your cash on cash return decreases. And why is that? Cash on cash return is this same formula here over how much money you have into a deal. In this case, because we're purchasing a property, that would be down payment. But you could also think of it DP, down payment. You could also think of it as how much money do I have sunk in equity in the property. And while 20% is a pretty good metric to start with, one, because banks have determined that if you put 20% into a property, it's very rare that you'll default on it. But let's go through the three examples I've outlined here, and these are all metrics just so I don't have to calculate as many things. I've got a 5%, a 10%, and a 20% scenario, all for the same property that I've outlined here. It's a rental that brings in $49,620 in gross rents per year. The expenses are $15,277, and these are just the basic 5 expenses. Water, hydro, tax, insurance, and heat. But you can include as many as you'd like. Just means your NOI is going to be lower and your metrics will be a little bit more accurate. But for the purpose of this video, we're really trying to show why cash flow isn't king. So it's not absolutely necessary to have every single expense in there. So that gives us an NOI of this because we take the gross, we minus the expenses, and we get the NOI. Okay, so if our cash, let's determine our cash flow at 5% down. So our cash flow, it's not affected by the fact that we have 5% down, except to the point of our debt service. So our NOI, which is going to stay the same the entire time, is 34342 minus the total debt service, which at 5% would be roughly 22,743 per year. Now you have to remember, 2/3 of this is principal. 2/3 of this 22,000 every year is yours, but it's getting sunk into equity. So what you start with is 5%. By the end of year one, you've put in even more into the equity. But for this case, we're going to assume the down payment is the equity because you start to enter into a calculus situation, and I think that's a little complicated for what we're doing here. So this would be our cash flow. Let me hop onto my calculator here and we'll get the cash flow. 34,342 minus 22,743. And our cash flow in this situation would be just under $12,000 a year or $11,599. Hopefully you can see how I got to that. This would be our cash flow. And that's really good. This property is cash flowing almost $1,000 a month, with just the basic expenses. So if you can figure out a way to spend less than $1,000 a month on things like cutting the grass and property management, you're really doing well. And this property would be absolutely awesome in this case. So that's the cash flow. Now let's look at what the cash on cash looks like, because cash flow is expressed in dollars, right? It's expressed just in dollars. There's no denominator, there's just a numerator. But I'm going to take this 11,599 I'm going to put it over a down payment of 5%. I forgot to mention this, but this property is listed at $399, which is really important. I should have mentioned that. And I've calculated these based on the financed amount. So your down payment would be $19,000 in this case, $19,950, and that would be our down payment, right? And this is what's left over after we service the debt, and this is our down payment. So what does that give us? Let's calculate that. 1159 9 divided by 19,950. So that's a 0.5814. So what does that mean? This means 58% of our down payment, 58% of our down payment of $20,000 is coming back to us in cash in just 1 year. As you can see, $12,000 in a year over a down payment of just $19,950. That's a great cash on cash return, 58%, unbelievable. And I forgot to mention this, but in a closing, you're always gonna have closing costs, and those will probably add up to, in this case, probably somewhere close to $20,000. But that's, your mileage will vary depending on which lawyer you use, etc. But because closing costs are the same across these three scenarios, I've excluded them. So don't use this as a metric for this property specifically. This is more just to show why cash flow isn't everything. So in this case, $12,000, that's a great cash flow. 58% cash on cash return. That's a great cash on cash return. Let's go to example number 2. So 34,342 is our NOI, right? Net operating income, which stays the same. Remember, if we paid this property off completely, the NOI would stay the same. Minus TDS, total debt service, which in this case, 21,546. So you can see, even though NOI has stayed the same, total debt service has gone down because there's less remaining to pay off. In this case, we paid 10%, so there's only $359,000 to pay off. In this case, there's $379,000. So that difference makes up about $1,000 a year in debt service. So let's just go with the cash flow first, and let's calculate this. So we know because TDS has gone down, our cash flow is going to be bigger on this example. Minus 21,546. Hope that's a 4. 546. Yes, it is. Okay. So this time our cash flow is 12,796. And about this time you might be asking yourself, that's only $1,000 more. That's only 1/12 more cash, but I have to pay twice as much money into the deal. And you'd be right. That's the whole point of this video, is to show you that. So let's show the cash on cash, because this is cash flow, and even this is, although 12,796 is larger than 11,599, let's see what the cash on cash return does. Because our down payment has doubled, but our our cash flow has only gone up by 1/12. So what'll that do to our cash on cash return? Our down payment was $39,900. Now let's do the calculation. 12,796 divided by 39,900. Looks like our cash on cash return has pretty much halved. Not quite, it's a little bit more than half. I'm going to round that, which would be a 32% cash on cash return. What does that mean? That means that this property is dwarfed in terms of return compared to this one. This one is bringing back 60% of the money you put in the first year. This one's only bringing back 32% of the money that you put in after 1 year. And after 2 years, it's going to be double this, right? 64. After 2 years of this, you'll have gained back your entire down payment, because 58 times 2 would be 116%. That's over 100% in just 2 years. Pretty incredible. Okay, let's go to our third scenario and hopefully illustrate this even more. So again, our net operating income is the same. And we're going to minus our total debt service, which is only 19,152 in this case. Remember, 20% is further from 10% than 10% is to 5. 5 and 10% down are only 5 percentage points off. But 20%, which again, like I said before, banks prefer 20% because it leaves some cushion in case they have to repossess the property. They can take that equity from you and pay their bills. So with 20%, you're paying double what you paid with the 10%. And let's see what it does to our cash on cash return. So again, NOI minus TDS, I didn't label this one, is 34,342 minus 19,152. And we're left with 15,190 per year. That's almost half of our NOI. So half of our money is going to debt service, half of it's going into our pocket. That's a great cash flow. That's a great cash. $15,000 a year, who's going to turn up their nose at that? I mean, I would love to have that. That's like a part-time job, you know, if you're only working 15 or 20 hours a week at minimum wage. That's not too bad. It's like having somebody work for you for free, assuming you've got management taking care of things for you. So that's our cash flow. What's our cash on cash return look like? Again, we write the cash flow, NOI minus TDS, and we put it over our down payment. In this case, 20% of 399,000 is 79,800. And you might be saying right now, Zach, I don't have $80,000 in cash to put into a property. And you'd be right. That's why you should be looking more at something like this, 5% down or 10% down. And we'll go over this in another video, but how do you achieve this? If the bank wants this, you move into the property yourself, okay? We'll go into that in another video. But if you have no choice, you know, you already own your house or you're investing remotely like a lot of our people do, you have to go with 20% down. So what's the cash on cash? If the cash flow is 15,000, what's the cash on cash? Let's calculate that. 15,190 divided by 79,800. And that comes out to just 19%. Again, just above half of what we had before. And remember, this is quite a bit further from this than this is to this. But this is double, so you would expect a doubling. But because you're paying less in debt, it ends up being a little bit more than half. So again, let's review. What are we kind of showing here? Out of the three scenarios, 20%, 10%, and 5%, which one is the most favorable in terms of cash flow? Obviously this one. I would rather have 15,000 than 11 or 12. Which one of these is the most favorable in terms of cash on cash return? This one. Why should you care about cash on cash return? After all, it's just a percentage. I want real money. These are expressed in dollars. Cash on cash return is expressed in a percent. What does that mean for me? Well, the percentage represents how fast you are making back your money. What matters with a cash on cash return, other than the debt service we've already talked about, is how much you pay down. The more you pay down, the longer it's going to take to get that ball rolling and double your money. In this case, it's going to take close to 5 years. 5 years to double your money, or to double what you've put into the deal, right? In this case, it's going to take 3 years. Or, you know, again, just over half. 3 years to get back the original money that you put into the property. And, you know, of course, so you've doubled it because you have money in the property and you have money out of it. And that's just cash. We've completely ignored principal, but I always do like to mention that there is the principal. You're paying off principal every year. This case, how long will it take you to make back your money? Less than 2 years. Less than 2 years. If you're a beginner, you have the advantage. If you're just getting into real estate investing, you have the advantage because a duplex in Ontario, you can easily get, with the right financials, you can easily get in for just 5% down. And this example that I've given right now, it's on the market right now, it's a triplex. Moving into one of those apartments and paying rent as if you were a tenant, because after all, you are a tenant right now, wherever you're living. So keep paying that rent to yourself. Don't exclude the rent that you would be paying if you lived somewhere else, because that's an opportunity cost. So that cash flow is in your pocket. You know, more than this is probably coming out of your pocket, but count this as an investment, right? And remember to still pay yourself rent so that your numbers don't get all befuddled. So again, if you live in this property and you're paying yourself rent, 2 years, you're gonna double your money. 2 years is not that long of a time, especially when we're talking about a long-term investment like real estate. 5 years, again, not super favorable compared to 2, but still great. This property is great. It obviously cash flows. You know, we've looked at these things. There is one more note I want to go over before we end this video, and that is cash flow isn't king if it's a good property. What do I mean by good property? Good properties have a higher NOI than TDS. So you can probably already tell what would happen if the TDS was larger than the NOI. That's when you invert. That's when you start having to pay money into your property to keep it working. In this case, we're getting paid to own the property after all is said and done. If TDS, if total debt service is higher, then, you know, let's say instead of $3.99, we paid $6.99 for the same property. And because Sudbury's in a boom right now, this isn't uncommon. It's easy to overpay if you don't know metrics like cash on cash return, and suddenly you're underwater on your payments. You're having to infuse your property with payments. And it's true, maybe after 5 years, you will catch up and the property will start to cash flow. But why I mention this is cash flow is actually better with a higher down payment if it's a bad property. If it's a good property, like this one, obviously the cash flow is much better paying low % down. And I hope not confusing the heck out of you guys. But obviously, if it's a good property, low down payment is the way to go. With a worse property, one that's inverted, that's costing you money because of the debt service, it's gonna look on paper, cash on cash will be very misleading, because this property in that scenario will actually be running a negative cash on cash, and this one will be running a positive cash on cash most of the time if it's not a great investment, like I've said. We'll probably go over that in another video, but for now, I'm Zach, and this is Home Life Green Team Real Estate here in Sudbury. Thanks for watching.